Hi, Andrew. Welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. Pleasure having you on the show, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say about these topics that we're going to go over. But first, I would like you to introduce yourself to the family. I always call them the Let's Talk Paralegal family. So if you want to just say a few words about that, that would be nice.
Absolutely. Andrew Kent, the data badger, I like to say sometimes, somewhat half joking, somewhat half true. The COO at Page One Legal. We are a litigation support and an e-discovery company located in Nashville. We are celebrating our 15 years in the business. We are an Inc. 5000 member, as well as a certified Great Places to Work.
Nice. Well, thanks, Andrew, for that introduction. So let's, I guess, get right into it because I'm intrigued and I'm really interested in what you have to say about the pro bono and how that affects the community and how we can get the community more involved in those types of services. Because I feel like, especially, being a freelance paralegal, we get the bulk of that stuff just because they honestly can't afford legal services as far as attorneys go, but they don't know that there's so many other options out there as well. So talk a little bit more about that and what your take is on that topic.
Absolutely. The key to me is when you do pro bono, when you do community outreach, and it is one of our core principles, caring about our community and our team, you really need to focus on the internals of it. A lot of companies out there want to focus on the externals, thinking of it as being marketing, thinking of it as being an outreach, thinking of it as that doesn't get you where you want to be. The numbers will never work out. You're not going to see the value. The real value is looking at the internals of it. It's all about how we engage our groups, how we engage our teams. So we do quarterly community service programs. We've done things such as, a local food bank, raising money for food for the local food bank, doing COVID supplies, helping out with, various things like that. We also do pro bono work in terms of our litigation support. We do e-discovery pro bono work. That's been so huge for us because, anybody can raise money for the food bank, and that's great. There's only so many of us that can actually do e-discovery pro bono, so it feels a little more special. And it's really just been such a fantastic thing for the team because when they see what they can accomplish, when they know what we're accomplishing as a team and as a company, it really makes them feel like they can change the world. And when you have a team that has that feeling, when you have a team that really honestly believes and sees that they're changing the world, we can just accomplish so much more. Our quality is so much higher. Our buy-in is so much higher. Law is not a clock in, clock out job. It's not it's 5 o'clock, I'm done, it's over. You really have to commit yourself to it. And if it's not giving back to you, it's only giving money to you. It's not giving back to you things like feeling good about yourself, feeling good about your community. It's really failing you, I think.
Wow, that was powerful. Thank you. That was great. Very inspirational as well. And you have a few resources, right, that go along with that. And according to your research, and I guess you read a lot. You're a bookworm like me. I love reading, so I have plenty of books to share too. So you want to talk a little bit more about that and what that looks like?
Absolutely. You'll never outread me.
I'm sure.
I try my best. These days I might fall asleep in the middle of a few books, but hey, I think, in terms of the three biggest books to me right now are Horst Schultz, Excellence Wins, Meredith Finneman, Brag Better, and Atul Gawande, The Checklist Manifesto. Starting from the top there, Horst Schultz, I really kind of bumped across him in terms of listening to lectures online. I'm loving all the online content we have these days where I can just click and not have to drive somewhere or find out. Love it. One of the things that really hit home with me was how he talks about you want to have that mother relationship. When you complain to your mother about something, she doesn't say, "Oh, I'll go talk to the manager. It's out of my hands." At least in the child's perspective, she fixes it. I want that to be the perspective that our clients have, is that when they talk to our project managers, when they talk to our sales team, our sales consultants, it's not, well, I talked to them and they're going to follow up. I want to be able, they're able as much as possible to fix the problems. So empowering them If there's a billing problem, if there's a communication problem, whatever it is, go ahead and let's take care of it. We're a small company. We don't have the bureaucracy of some of those large factory companies where it's like, let me talk to this person, let me talk to this person. It's not that, well, I'll have to talk to my call center, all these different people with accounting.
Yeah, red tape everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. By the time you get a no or yes, it doesn't even matter anymore so many times because you've had to move on. I want to empower our people to know exactly what they can do, what they can write off, what they can do in terms of keeping those clients happy. It's like that Johnny Taylor song, Cheaper to Keep Her. It's so much better to keep the clients we have happy than to burn them and go after other ones. And I feel like sometimes a lot of companies, that's what they're doing. They're looking at that little cent they may win today and not thinking about down the road. We don't want to be one of those groups. The other thing I loved about Horst is he's so into, culture. He's so into ingraining in everybody what our core concepts are. To me, ours are caring about our community and our team, constantly dependable, continually learning, and committed to our clients. I want to make sure that our team is always able to rattle it off like that, because it's not something we're just using as a marketing piece or something we've just put on the walls. It's something we live. When you think about a client who has a problem, walk through those core concepts, walk through those critical values for us. Is what we're doing matching that? It's that guidelines for them. So that's what I love so much about that book. Again, a great speaker as well. I
think it has a lot to do with customer service as well. Like we in the legal industry often don't see our services as serving the community or serving people. We see them as clients, as a number, especially these big, and I'm overgeneralizing, of course, not all of us are like that, obviously, right? I mean, I get it. I've been in the industry long enough to see the good, the bad, and the ugly and the pretty. But having said that, though, overall, that's the perception, right, that everybody has of us. Professional liars is the number one that I always get when you're like, oh, you work with professional liars, and that's horrible. And, Hollywood, the media, it doesn't make it any better. It's not like you see these wonderful attorneys in the front lines, battling these civil rights movements and all these other things that are going on in this crazy society that we have right now. So, it's not helping either, right? Which was the whole point of creating this podcast, was to create a safe space for those legal professionals that have been fighting the good fight for years and have their voices heard, and give them a platform where they can feel like, oh, wow, I'm actually being understood. I'm actually being seen as who we really are. I feel like there's so many more good legal professionals out there doing good. And like you were saying about with the food banks and providing pro bono services, that is such needed services right now, especially now during the pandemic. And the fact that your company is able to do that says volumes about the type of services that you guys provide as well, and the attention that you provide your customers, which I think at the end of the day, and I actually use this similar example in the book that we just brought out this month, was, think of it like when you go to like a barber shop or a hair salon, right? You shop around, you look at who you like, you see the ambiance, there's plenty of options out there for the clients to choose for their attorneys, for legal professional assistants, whatever it is that they're looking for. There's billions of attorneys out there. Like, just even, you can look at the American Bar and look at how many members just them alone have, right? So there are plenty of legal professionals out there willing and able and fully capable of providing those type of services, whatever those services look like for that particular client. But I think what sets each one apart at the end of the day is the customer service, right? Is what's going to bring back those customers in case they need another legal matter handled, or they refer you, right? Because it's all about referrals. I think that's the best compliment when it comes to the business, right? Referrals is awesome. Word of mouth is amazing. It's the best promotion, and it's the best compliment that your company can have, whether you're an attorney or not, or a non-lawyer, it doesn't matter. That is the epiphany of customer service. So it's really important that we hone in on that. And I love that book. I wrote it down. So I'm definitely going to read that one. That's going to be added to the list.
Great book. And it's so true what you're saying is, I think when you look at med schools, they're starting to realize that bedside manners are so important, that maybe in the past, they haven't really concentrated on that. They've been just factual, and they don't understand how that affects participation, how that affects compliance in terms of giving out medical directions. I don't know that law school has made it to that point yet. I don't know that
No.
law school is really spending any time on how to build relationships and get clients to trust you. It's very much.
They're not even teaching them how to practice law. They're
Exactly.
practicing it after, right? So it's like, literally, that's why it's called a law practice, right? Because they are literally practicing law after law school. So they're not even teaching them that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I do have to give a shout out to the Columbus Community Legal Services, where I learned how to practice law. It's all about, if you're in law school, getting on that clinic where you actually do things. It's great to write in the law journal and read books, but you don't know how to walk into court after that. You don't know how to consult with that client, get the details. It's all those things you learn in a valuable clinic. So anyone who is looking into law school, make sure to look into that clinic, see what's available. It is critical.
Yeah, and I see I'm seeing a lot of movements now, especially within my circle with attorneys, a lot of movement towards mental health, apprenticeship, internships, where they can actually go to court, learn how to speak with the judges and learn how to communicate with others, because really our profession, that's what it is. We are the communicators between one party to another, whether it's to an attorney, whether it's to another judge, whether it's to another pro se litigant, whatever it is, that is what we do day in and day out. And for that to be eliminated from your schooling is absurd, right? It just doesn't make sense. Like, you should have an entire semester on how to communicate with people in general. And I think we create better humans in the process, because I think that's our number one flaw as humans, is that we're so stuck in our ways, and we're, I was just brought up that way, or this is just the way I am, so deal with it. And that's no longer going to take you places. I've recently been taking a lot of workshops and a lot of webinars and courses on how to communicate with different type of people, right? Because it depends on where they're from, what their backgrounds are. Are they introverts? Are they extroverts? Are they visual people, or are they more, just calm and chill and back, right? If you're too animated, you're going to scare people away. If you're too quiet, then you're going to scare the other people away. So how do you sell your services? How do you communicate? All that kind of, circles back to what we were talking about, which is customer service. So it's a trait that should be really in any, right? It should be a base college course at that point, because if you can learn how to communicate, you're golden. You're golden for the rest of your life, really, whatever you want to do, as far as your profession goes. And again, creates a better human, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So you had another book you were talking about, and I'm sorry I cut you off, but I love the theme of that book. So.
Yeah. The other one that I just finished reading is Meredith Feynman, Brag Better. It's one of those things you don't really think about, but it's so important. Just how do you use your accomplishments in a way that doesn't feel cocky or non-authentic, but how do you actually let that light shine? I think it's so important in terms of what we're doing with that pro bono stuff, because we have a certain duty to let people know about the programs we're involved in so that they can sign up. We're doing something with Relativity called Justice for Change, a fantastic program. How do I get the word out there that other companies, other competitors should be signing up for Justice for Change, should be taking part in this? It's really great in terms of that, of just how do we bring up our positives? And I think too, a lot of them are basically, we all know this. Oftentimes it's the loudest person that gets the most attention. Usually it's the loudest person that gets the most attention. So if you're somebody who's a little more sincere, a little more thoughtful, how do you get your message out there when the person beside you is cocky, is yelling, is screaming, is like, I did this, I did this, I did this.
Yeah.
It's so important now, especially I think when you look at in the digital world, you may not see everybody. It used to be, hopefully in an office, even if somebody was shy or bashful, they kind of kept to themselves, you saw them working. You knew that they were there working hard. You got to interact with them to some extent. Those people, it's so easy for them to kind of fall off the radar now. They have to be more aware in terms of bringing up their own value in a way that makes them still feel comfortable. And like I said, that isn't non-authentic. They don't want to be that person, holding up the giant sign and yelling. That's not them. So I really love that book, Brag Better.
Yeah, it brings me back to a theme that I did in my sociology degree. It was called Speak Up. And again, it goes back to how different people communicate differently. And I think there's a theme going on here. But yeah, it was called Speak Up. It was something that me and my classmates created. It was a movement in our college that we did. And that's literally what it was. It was, I can't tell you how many times I sat in a meeting and I had so much to say, and I said it. I've never had that problem. It's not a problem I ever had. I may have other ones, but that's not, speaking up was never my problem. And I'm very outspoken. I'm very ambitious. I have a lot of things going on. And probably that's to your point, is probably what got me to where, the podcast has gone in such a short amount of time. But beside all that, it was a great program to create. And I think the university still continues to do it. And it's speaking up, because after meetings, they're like, oh my God, don't they understand that this, and this, or blah, blah, blah. And again, I always quote this amazing manager that I had at this multi-billion-dollar law firm that I worked for. He was an amazing person, amazing manager. And he would always say, okay, thank you for highlighting the problems, but what are the solutions? Do you have any solutions for me? And so that's basically what I would tell them. I'm like, you need to speak up. Like, why were you so quiet in the meeting? Why didn't you show your concerns and provide solutions during the meeting? Like, that is the whole purpose of a meeting. They are letting you know that changes are about to come. This is how we're going to handle them. If you feel like that's not a good change and you have other input, that's what we're here for. That's what the team meeting is about. It's for the team to get together, to start collaborating, to start moving forward. That is what creates leadership. So if you're complaining that you're not getting that raise, you're complaining that you're not getting that bonus, or you're not getting higher up in the ladder, whatever your success looks like for you, it's you. You're your own obstacle. You're not speaking up. You're not negotiating your worth. You're not telling these people the tables that you want to sit in. You're not adding yourself and your value to whatever project that is. Man, that would have been a great project for me to do. Go for it. Tell your manager you want to do it. Like, why are you telling me? I'm not going to be able to do anything. Go to the person that can make that happen and see what they say. The worst thing they can say is no, and you move on and you go to the next opportunity. But I think that, I don't know what it is. Again, because I've never had that problem. I've always been that, bulldozer is really what they call me, which I don't know if that's a good thing sometimes, but I could be, I'm kind of to the extreme, but, and I think that's why all my friends are like those quiet, timid types, because I guess opposites attract, but I'm surrounded by these people and I'm like, y'all need to speak up. Okay. Y'all need to like get it together and start showing concern, and, obviously don't be rude about it, but lead with profession and lead with grace and show humility and really present your offer or whatever it is that you're trying to do, present it in a manner where it can be digestible, right? Because at the end of the day, that's important too. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not what you communicate, it's how you communicate it. I think that's what makes great speakers, right? Like you were saying, Horace is an amazing speaker, but he's probably delivering what we call repurposed content. Like other people have probably said it before, or he got it from somebody else and he just made it his own. It's the delivery that makes that impact, that kind of draws people in and really creates that change that we want to see. But if we don't do it and we stay quiet, nothing's going to happen. And then we're just sulking in this like, oh, poor me, nothing's happening. Yeah, well, because you're not doing anything.
Absolutely. And I think too, it's really meeting in the middle. It's not just a matter of those introverts being louder, being more vocal. It's also a matter of those people who are too extrovert, toning it down a notch and letting everybody come to the table.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm talking about like creating tables, right? That's my thing. That's what they call me, the table maker now. All of a sudden I started I was on Instagram and they're like, yeah, Etta Rosa, the table maker. I'm like, really? Okay. I kind of like the sound of that. I was like, because that's what I do. I bring, like you said, everybody together, whatever you are, as long as you're willing to move the legal industry forward and you're willing to make that innovation that is so necessary right now, especially now, putting politics aside, I don't talk politics, but legal, right? We need to get together and we need to make this industry what it was meant to be, what the founding fathers really created it to be and birthed it, you know? I feel like politics got way in the way of what really the potential of the legal industry could be. We put politics way too much on a high pedestal, and I don't think that should be it. You know, obviously the founding fathers made it for the people, by the people, and that kind of got lost in translation somehow. It's even on our money, but you know, that just got lost. So I think some of the people,
Let's
right?
not.
Like the 2% or the 3%.
Let's not be political, but let's also not, you know.
Yeah. So
I love that the Table Maker sounds like a fantastic PBS show, a great woodworking and law show. Great combo.
I'm totally gonna merge those two together.
It's like you know, that I don't know if you ever heard Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage. The song's always stuck in my head. Great concept. That's what we need, more foot massages and barbecue together. But
okay,
hey,
all together. I like that. I like it.
Look it up if you need to. I didn't make it up.
I'm totally gonna look that up for sure.
It'll be stuck in your head all day.
Oh no, okay, then maybe not. I don't know about that. So you had another book you were going to talk about, right? Yeah,
and the last one is something we're now giving out to everyone who comes on our team. Atul Gawande's The Checklist Manifesto.
Ooh.
Fantastic. Like I say, I've got a stack of them in my office right now. So any new person that comes on, I want you to read this book. It basically talks about how it's not enough to think you know what you're doing. It's not enough to do it over and over again every day. You really need to have checklists that you actually go through to make sure you're getting every step, because you will find over time you will miss critical elements. He's a noted surgeon, doctor, and talks about, you know, even having that checklist for washing your hands, how it greatly reduced the amount of infections they had. Again, it seems silly. I know how to wash my hands. I've been washing my hands my whole life. But if you have that checklist to actually go through, make sure you do this, 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 and this, you're going to have such better results. And when you look at things then like law, like preparing a production or something like that we're doing, having that checklist built into your ticketing system like we're doing, your margin of error goes down so much. You know, your quality goes up so much. One of the things I think people need to make sure they look for in any discovery provider is how many of them have gone into court. Because it's one thing to sit here in my office and say, our product's got to be right. Until you actually have stood in front of the judge, you don't really know what that means, right? You don't really understand how much it has to be right. When you flip to, you know, tab 27 and it's wrong, everything you've worked for is now teetering in the balance. You're looking stupid. The confidence has gone down. Your client is like, what on earth? The littlest things. Having that checklist to make sure you go through every single step is critical, you know?
Right. Especially trial prep. I think trial prep, you know, is like a thing where everybody's like, oh, it'll happen, but we'll like work with it when we get there. And I'm like, no, that's why you're like up at like midnight and endless hours. If you,
absolutely.
Okay, so let's think of this logically, right? You get a trial order a good amount in advance, like, I don't know, maybe 6 months, sometimes a year, depending on the court system that you're working in. But like, you got plenty of time to get your ducks in a row. Why are we working the hour when it comes trial time? When we have like the bulk of the information that's needed, we already have it, obviously, because we're going to trial. So it's like, I feel like sometimes we're always like, you know, like setting our own fires and then like setting them off. Like, I feel, you know, like counterproductive. Like, I don't even know how else to explain that. But, you know, everybody's like, oh, I was like running around with the chicken without a head. It's trial. And it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, or it's a Saturday or Sunday. And I'm like, but why? Like, how long have you had this damn order in your hands? And
absolutely.
Why wasn't it better organized? Why didn't you outsource? Why didn't you hire extra help? Why didn't you bring the team together, get it, you know, collaborate on this huge multi-billion-dollar trial? You would think you would pay a little more attention to it. You know, so many questions with like unended answers.
And so much of that is not setting up your mileposts. So you don't really know what you need to have. When you get everything down to like a rhythm, to like a dance or a song, where it's not, what do I do next? What do I do next? when I have that kind of consistency, and obviously there's always gonna be variables, but when it becomes just that song that just comes out of your mouth, normal, natural, you're not even thinking about it. When you have that chart and it says at the 60-day mark, we'll have these things done, specifically these things done. At the 30-day, we'll have these things done. When it's written out clear for everybody, you're going to just knock it out of the park. And just also in terms of your heart and your head, you're just going to feel better. I hate that feeling when you don't have a list, when you don't have an idea of it. And it's like, did we do this? Did we do this? Did we do this? Who was going to do this? Right. That's the other thing too. You know, when you have two people doing something, you have nobody doing something.
Yes.
Have
Delegating.
that checklist. Exactly. Have that checklist as soon as humanly possible to explain exactly what each person is going to do so they know. And then if they have any problems, they can come back to the group. But when it's that thing of, oh, maybe you're doing it, maybe I'm doing it, maybe this person is doing it, it's gone. It's over. You've already set yourself off track.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. This is what I make a living off of. I literally organize law firms. Like I go in there, I give them my product method, I train the team, I put them because at times I had this one law firm that I did consulting with, and the receptionist was an amazing paralegal. Like they had gold. I was like, do you guys not understand that she has the most valuable skill ever? She literally the clients would come in, they would know her by name, they would send her flowers. I'm like, that is who you want, not only in the front of the line, you want them throughout the trajectory of your case. If they're already building that type of relationship with minimal contact, imagine the impact that it would have when you give her a caseload. It's astounding how they're so up high, right? They're so used to just delegating, throwing, and then see what sticks, that they're not even focused on, hey, this is a valuable person. I can totally, and she was asking for it. She wanted more work, and apparently they thought she wasn't capable of it. I have no idea. And I'm like, wow, you guys are so far gone that you're not even noticing that you just have the wrong people in the wrong positions. If you just do a little bit of switcheroo, you don't have to fire people. That's the first thing when I come in, everybody's like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. I'm like, absolutely not. We're going to test your skills. We're going to see where you're at, and we're going to put you where you need to be, where you're going to flourish, where you're going to be happy. And then we're going to give you a process that will establish everything else. And like you said, the tickler system, doing this, doing that, really creating what I call the firm-wide process, right? From intake to settlement to closing the file, there has to be a streamlined process. If not, it's not going to go anywhere. You're going to be working at the hour. You're going to be working hundreds of hours on this one case and letting your other cases fall through the cracks. It's just not productive.
And they're seeing you as the two Bobs from Office Space. You know, what people do wrong, I think, a lot is they see value based on what the org chart says. They see that org chart and they see, okay, well, here's where everyone's value is. The real value is from the client perspective. Once the client likes somebody there and can build an actual relationship, no matter what their level is, when something small goes wrong, they're going to say, okay, it's fine. If they don't trust you, if they don't have that relationship, when something goes wrong, they're going to see it as this is the tip of the iceberg. This is the end of it. Oh my gosh, we got to get out. Those people, though, who create trust, who make them feel like part of the group, they're invaluable.
And not only that, the communication. I feel like sometimes when the client comes in, they sign the retainer or whatever, they sign all the intake information, and then that's it. We no longer call them, tell them what's going on. We just take it from there, right? And it's the client's constantly calling, what's going on? I haven't heard from you in a month, And then at times, most of the time, they're paying them a month, or they're paying them thousands of dollars, and they're like, where is my money going? You're not even providing me the service of this money that I'm shelling out here, right? So it's no, the customer experience is literally from the time they walk in to the time we close their file. That's what creates value to the firm, not the revenue that's coming in. Obviously, that's important, right? Because we have overhead, we have external costs, and we have employee costs. That's great, and that's dandy. But if you focus on the customer service, then the rest of it will come. Yeah. Then you'll get more clients, then your value will go up, then your company would do great, then you can hire more people to focus on those bottlenecks. But you got to start with the client. No client, no money, no cases, no firm.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes too, you can't go dark on them no matter what. Sometimes you have to give what I call the no update, which is we're waiting 30 days for something to happen. That's fine. But I need to remind them during those 30 days that we're doing that. It doesn't need to be a critical update. It's just an update just to remind you, get to the halfway point, just to remind you, we've got this thing coming up. Nothing's going on right now, but everything's going smoothly, because they're like, what's going on? Is something happening? I don't know.
Yeah, they're freaking out. They don't know what's going on. That's why they're hiring us, because they don't know what to do. And you can automate those things too. It's not something that you have to remember. Like, these are automated, easy automation emails that you can set ahead, or you can set tasks ahead. Like, with all the technology that we have nowadays, trust me, you can make your life easy and you can automate half of these emails. Of course, personalize them. You don't want to be like a robot, right? Because we don't want to get to that point either, where they're calling and they're talking to like a mechanical person or something. But you can, to a certain extent, you can automate certain things, especially something like that perfect example that you just gave. That is something super easy. You can put Mr., Mrs., Sir, Madam, whatever you want to use, or just their first name. If you just want to be casual, hey, just letting you know that we're still waiting. We got another 15 days. Just something as simple as that will alleviate so much miscommunication, frustration. Again, they're hiring us for a reason. They don't know what's going on. They don't know the process. That's why we're here. That's why we have jobs. But I think we forget that. We often forget that, hey guys, this is not just a job. We're handling somebody's legal matter. Like, they are already in a frenzy. They're already frustrated. Something happened unexpectedly or expectedly, who knows? And they're discombobulated. They're like going crazy. They don't know what to do, and you're not making it any better. I don't know. I somewhere along the line, we try to automate way too much. I think we just try to handle it too much, or like you said, fix it to the point where we're not even communicating, right? We're not even having that connection with them. They just become another, again, overgeneralizing. I'm not saying that all of us are like that. That's the whole purpose of the podcast. But
so many of the best lawyers are that D personality where they just take over everything. And it's like, don't worry about what I'm doing. I've got it. I've got it taken care of. You need to at least tone that down, or find other people who can be that communication point for you. Because like you said, these are clients who oftentimes are getting monthly bills that stuff is happening, but they don't know what. So to them, they're saying, I'm just paying and nothing's happening. Nothing's going to move forward. You got to let them know, we don't need to talk to you. We don't need another meeting, but we want to let you know things are moving forward. We are making progress. Let them see, let them know what's on that invoice, explain it to them. So at least they have that feeling of, okay, I'm paying. It's always more than they want to pay. That's just life. And they don't want to be here in the first place, right? It's like a car mechanic, right? You didn't want to pay anything. But letting them know what you're doing, how you're doing it. Again, that 10-minute, 5-minute even email to them, or just quick phone call to them if they're not, one of the computer savvy people, just to say, hey, want to touch base, want to let you know what's happening. Everything's going smoothly. Here's what we're working towards. Because again, leaving them in the dark, and especially sending them bills in the meantime, it's counterproductive. It's not helpful. They're not trusting you. You're ruining it.
Yeah, you have to create trust. I think that's kind of like sales 101, really, in general. Like, you have to create trust. The person has to trust you, especially with sensitive information. Like, oftentimes we handle their date of birth, social security numbers, we're handling that's why confidentiality is such a big thing, right? I can't even tell you how many non-disclosure agreements I have signed throughout my 18 years of being a legal professional, or confidentiality agreements, or policy and terms, and all this stuff, right? Because we take confidentiality super serious, right? And especially in this virtual world now, where everybody's remote, everybody's, most of us are freelance now, or whatever, virtual contracts, whatever you want to label it. We're all remote. We're all no longer in, sitting in an office, doing our thing, with the protection of the office server, or whatever, that's called. So especially now, right? Software has heightened up, right? Their confidentiality, their hacking, all their security procedures and things like that, which is great. But I mean, imagine you, let's just put it this way. Imagine you just going to get a service, like perfect example, you're a mechanic, right? And I literally just left my car at the shop this morning, so this is great. It's really recent. So imagine I get there and I'm literally giving them the key to my car, right? Like, let's think about this. I'm giving them the key to my car. They obviously have my driver's information, right? Because they have the license plate, they'll have the registration, they have my name, they have, like, I'm already entrusting this building with basically my life, right? Because with that information, they can take it and just like go with it, right? Because on your registration is basically everything that they're going to need in order to take your information. So think about that, right? We don't really think about that on a day-to-day when we go to the doctor's office and we're giving them, you know, social security numbers and emergency contacts and all this. We're constantly giving our information to these third parties that we have no clue who they are. And even if we do, they're not our family. So it's like, not sure we trust them. But you know, so think about it that way, right? And it's so important to understand that we are another third party that they're giving this sensitive information to. And for us to just turn our backs and ignore them that way, that's kind of like not only rude, that's just like unprofessional, I think, anyway.
You've got me scared. My next stop is I got to drop my car off at the body shop today. So I was feeling pretty good about it. Now I'm not so sure, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. Thank you.
But this is what I'm saying, you know, it's just things that we do on a day-to-day basis, you know, and unfortunately we don't think, like I said, we don't think about it that way until now. Like today, he's like, oh, you want to take anything out of your car before you leave? And I'm like, I should. I should be taking everything out. Like, you know, like, who knows? But yeah, so anyway, this was awesome. Actually, I could talk to you all day because you're like so cool, like awesome and chill, and I love it. And I want to thank you for being on the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast and really taking your time discussing this important topic that often is like goes on the sidelines for some reason. I don't understand why, but it's really important to understand that there are other types of services, affordable services for people that, you know, may not be able to you know, really handle or afford, you know, like a lot of people don't have access to it either. Accessibility is another issue as well, but that's a topic for another day for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you having me on. I'm a rambler, so I could talk all day about almost anything, whether I know it or not. It's never stopped me before. So again, I appreciate you letting me come on. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Have a good one.